All right, guys, I've got Matt here with me. Welcome to Type 5. We're going to chat a little bit about the upcoming semi-finals this weekend. So, yeah, the squads have been announced. Matt will start off with New Zealand and Argentina. Obviously, New Zealand named a pretty much unchanged squad for today, with the exception of Talia coming in. We had the discussion last week that, Talia being disciplined was maybe not the best score. Obviously, it's a bit of a weird one. Kind of not disciplining him would have sent some other messages. But he is back in the team this weekend, and Fanganaku drops out of the match day 23. Argentina also pretty much named a very similar squad. Are we really seeing that these are pretty much the set squads? We'll talk about the England South Africa side as well, but very similar squads named there for the match day 23. Yeah, I mean, what are we going to see this weekend? We've got New Zealand, Argentina tonight. Obviously, Argentina have beaten New Zealand in New Zealand recently, and it is a World Cup semi-final. What did Ireland take out of them? Can they pull it together?
Well, as you know, that's my team. So I'm going to be backing them all the way, and I expect them to perform at their very best. I think that now that it's the quarterfinals, they're going to give it all they've got. At the end of it all, you got to understand that people were judging them off one loss that they've had in a very, very long time in the beginning of the World Cup against France. And you got to understand that most of those points were scored through giving away penalties, which was their own fault. So I think they've tidied up over the matches. You could see they're still suffering with discipline problems, but those problems are starting to slowly but surely become less and less. The penalties they're giving away are becoming less and less. But most of their games I've seen, there's always a red card somewhere, and somebody is sitting one man short with the New Zealand team, and that's my worry about that game. The Argentina versus New Zealand game, if they don't iron out their discipline problems, it can be very, very close. Because yes, Argentina is a good team. I don't think they're better than the All Blacks. It's just that they can be better than the All Blacks if the All Blacks give away penalties and end up with red cards again. So they need to iron that out. Other than that, if they keep that tight and they solve their discipline problems, I don't think they're going to have a problem beating Argentina. But then on the other hand, you got to understand the mentality of Argentina, because look, Michael Cheika is a really good coach, and I think that I've watched these trainings and things, and a lot of them, the way they train and do things, a lot of it is also psychological. The meetings that they have, just to get everyone to have that same mentality and to think on the same lines. So I'm pretty sure they must have said something along the lines of, we've made it this far, we have nothing to lose. This is the All Blacks, but we can beat them. And I'm pretty sure they're coming in with a mentality that, you know what, it's just two teams left. Let's give it our best. So they're going to put their best foot forward, and they're going to give the All Blacks their all.
I
So if
think
you ask me what I think's going to happen, I think the All Blacks will come out victorious. But I'm not saying that I'm telling you that it cannot be said that this is 100% thing. If they mess up with their discipline, they can pay for it, and
yeah.
that's what I'm basically thinking.
Well, I suppose, looking back at Argentina's history and maybe not so much more recently, they've generally been, with that passionate side, quite a problematic discipline side. But that obviously over the last while has changed quite a bit, right? So I suppose the question is going to be who puts the most pressure on for the relevant team to make the discipline issues. If you look at again Argentina's history and then New Zealand's more recent history, they both kind of are discipline problems. It is a semi-final. There's a lot of pressure on. That could really go either way, and I think, hopefully there are no cards, but that could be a game-changing factor in either direction, whether it's on Argentina or New Zealand side. looking back at the more recent games of New Zealand, obviously, so pre-World Cup warm-up, they got destroyed by South Africa. I think that had a bit of a mental knock on them, a lot bigger than what maybe most people understood, because they were reasonably well before that. Then went into France and just couldn't get it together. Then had a few easier games, let's be completely honest, and then came out against Argentina, and it was an exceptional performance against Argentina from a discipline perspective. Those last 5 minutes dealing with 37 phases from from Ireland, and managing to get the win away. If they can have any version of that, I just don't see Argentina beating them. I would in part love for Argentina to beat them, because it'll be a nice little, get Argentina in the final. But I just don't see it happening. On the other side, I would love for it to be a New Zealand South Africa final, because 95 rematch. But a part of me doesn't like that side necessarily either, because they are our bogey team. So now I think it's going to be a hell of an interesting game. I'm curious to see if old Sanchez rocks up and has a little game-changing moment again. He's coming up on retirement, and he's like, I'm just going to just remind you guys who I was. He showed it against Wales with a little intercept try there, and it's going to be a hell of a game. Again, I think it will likely be New Zealand. I think Barrett showed in the last game. I think that was one of his better games in a long time. Mwanga had a decent game. The forward stepped up for a change, which is one of the things they've been struggling a bit with. And honestly, I was watching Ireland's attack, those 37 phases, they had nothing. That diamond shape just did nothing against New Zealand. They just went, okay, cool, you're going to do this, we're going to tackle you, thanks for coming. So all things considered, I do expect New Zealand to take this. I think I predicted them by 11. I think it'll be a tight game. I think there'll be moments, but there will be, 1 or 2 penalties and probably a try in the game. That will be the difference, in my opinion.
Then, Argentina's not going to be what I can say is that I think New Zealand, Foz will be thinking more along the lines of, we're going to probably have this in the pocket. We need to worry about injuries. And because Argentina is a physical team, they're known for physicality. Yes, I remember the one time, I think who was it? I can't remember. I think it was Lavanini or someone picked up Dwayne Formula and dropped him on his head illegally, like totally for no reason, just dropped him on his head. Luckily, nothing happened to him, but this is the type of players you're getting. And the thing that Foz probably is worrying about is that how many players are going to come out of this uninjured to face South Africa? I think that's the thing, because you're thinking of basically continuity management here. You're thinking along the lines of, what am I going to have left to work with playing this? Because ideally, what Foz wants is for them to come out like clean, not many injuries, not many niggles, and let's move on to the next game. And I think not just Foz and Rassi, but I think the whole world is basically, except English fans, they delusional. But everyone, the whole world is thinking this is going to become a South Africa and New Zealand final. So
I suppose the only risk with that is the complacency factor, right? Like, I think New Zealand did it in, when was it? Was it 2007 that they rested people to get to play in the semis, and never made it. So it's one of those. Don't make that mistake. And obviously New Zealand's picked their strongest squad again, so obviously they've learned from their mistakes in that regard. So I think, like you said, the whole world is expecting it effectively to be a South Africa New Zealand final. We'll get onto the South Africa England game now, but I think obviously Matera not being there for Argentina is a bit of a loss from a physicality perspective. So hopefully the guys step up. I want it to be a good game. Quarterfinals round was just 4 rounds of epic rugby. Pretty much all of those games went down to the wire, and it was exhilarating, although I think most of my Monday was ruined because of that. I was still mentally recovering from the anxiety from the week.
All the South Africans and New Zealand, well, I don't know about the South African fans rocking up to work, bubble us, freaking over.
That was rough. But okay, so onto South Africa, England. Obviously, South Africa came out naming an unchanged squad. I don't know how I feel about that. We'll talk about that shortly. And then England only made 3 changes. The one notable one being Stewart in for Smith. We all saw the pictures of Smith afterwards. Fiji was rough on him. He got a bit of a welcoming to hardcore international rugby in that game, to the point that he is not okay.
Yeah, the
He's not.
Fijians were physical. They were physical. Like,
Was physical, and Marcus Smith got seemingly the brunt of it.
but that's exactly what I'm talking about now when it comes to the Argentina game as well. I'm like, that's what I'm talking about. I'm talking about if it's going to be that physical, you're going to lose those players. So back to the South African England game. Yeah, they playing with. But I mean, Rassi called their bluff as well. Did you see that interview? Rassi named their squad for them. Basically, he told them what
What?
they're gonna play.
Yeah, it wasn't. He like I saw an interview with Borthwick where he was like, "Did he get it right?" And they were like, "No." And I was like, "To be fair, he did say they're not sure whether it will be this one or that one." It was the only. He was like Freddie Stewart versus Marcus Smith. Then George Martin was the one that he was also like they may go with him, which they did. So he didn't get it wrong. Yeah, he basically said, we expect this team, and then went, "Here's my team, anyways." But yeah, I think the biggest thing for me, I suppose, maybe on the concerning side, is the Ireland. I mean, the France game was physical, right? Like France dominated us for a big part of that game. It was a hard game. I mean, Jesse Krill looked like he, was in World War II, running away from bombs. Obviously, had an exceptional game, but it was physical on the guys. And I suppose the only concerning part is, 6-day turnaround. Is that enough for that squad? I would have expected a few changes. Because I don't think, if you look at our depth, like if you had to choose Esterhuizen over De Allende, I don't think you'd be losing much. I would have thought maybe would play this game. I kind of thought, and they hinted at it as well, that and Moody would start, and my expectation behind that was that Moody would then shift into outside centre. And obviously they rocked up and named the exact same squad, which I suppose kind of says to you that is likely the final squad, with the obvious exception of potential injuries, which, look, the England game will be physical. It's how the Northern Hemisphere sides play. They generally try and be a bit more physical. Whether England will have the physicality to match us, I just don't, based on their performances so far, I just don't see that happening. Everyone's obviously going, they're the only unbeaten side left. And I go, yeah, but they played against who? Like, I mean, let's be real. They played Fiji, they played Chile, they played Argentina. It was no real major physical challenges, and they're coming into the
It was a
semi-final with
draw.
Yeah, I mean, they had a luck of a draw, which gave them a reasonably easy route to the semis. And I say reasonably easy because the Fiji game was physical, obviously, but it's a very big difference playing against Ireland, France, New Zealand, South Africa, and they're coming into a semi-final without having really been challenged in that regard. Obviously, a little bit on a high. They are quite confident. The English fans are adamant that, this is revenge for 2019. Kyle Sinclair might finally have a game against South Africa that he remembers, in a World Cup. So we'll see how that goes. But yeah, again, I don't see England giving us a lot of problems. We outscored France 4-3. I didn't go with a big margin. Knockout rugby just generally isn't that type of game. I think the final, you play a bit of a potential exception on that because it is the last game, but I do expect us to be a bit more direct in just making sure we get the scoreboard ticking and trying to beat them. Based on the squad, though, we may have a very similar game where we try and run and score 3 or 4 tries in the first half, and then bringing on Pollard to kind of close out the game. Obviously, I had this conversation with someone else that, considering we have Dion Fourie, who's not, our best scrummager or line-out thrower, he does a decent job, but you are likely going, with Libok and Humbanambi being the ones that you say, okay, we're not going to kick at goal because Libok is a bit flaky at times there, and Humbanambi's better at the line-out, so that would be your line-out drives, kick to the corners, that type of approach, compared to if you started with Pollard, you'd likely want to go with Fourie as the starting hooker because you're likely not going to be cooking into the corners. You're going to go for the penalties and for the points. So, and that seems to be the squad, right? That they're kind of picking and saying, okay, well, this is the way that we're going to approach it. when Pollard is on, we're likely going to go for the 3 points, be a bit more tactical around the game management, whereas Lebok is there with Willems and them to run them a bit ragged. So I'm excited to see how we go about that. We have seen before when we select that, then we go for balls and miss it. So I hope we don't do that. But yeah, big game. Do you think England will put South Africa under pressure?
Do I think they'll put them under pressure? No, I'm going to be honest. I don't think so. I mean, Rassie called their bluff. I think Rassie basically knows he's got their number. So he's planned everything around them. It's like he knows them inside out. So everything's been planned really nicely. And then it just came to fruition when they did the announcement on England. And Rassie was probably like, yeah, that's what I thought. So I knew who was coming on. I knew what they were going to do based on those players. And I've worked around it. So the whole week we've been working on thrashing you. And you basically, showed us that we were right. So in terms of a game like that, I'm not worried. But you got to be honest now. Let's address that elephant in the room again. The ref selections. That's going to be a thing for me where it's going to be like, okay, can that actually change the outcome of games now? Because firstly, we're assuming now because those ref selections are so dodge. Um, what are they going to do? Are they going to be like, okay, because it's so dodge, we're going to show you that we're not dodge and we're going to do the right thing? Or is it going to be a thing where, we're dodge and you call that we're going to start favoring teams? Because like for the South African England team, as much as I'm an All Blacks fan, 3 out of 4 refs being New Zealand refs. And obviously, if you're a New Zealander, you don't. And yes, I know a lot of guys will say, "Oh no, we're not scared of South Africa. Bring them. We actually want to play them."
Uh-huh.
But
Until we remember Twickenham and they go, maybe not.
I'll be honest. If you're a smart person, I wouldn't want to face the Box in the finals. I'd rather face England in the finals. Now you got
Yeah.
3 New Zealand refs that can help out with that. And it's just little things because, like you say, these games come down to small margins at the end because in any finals it's small margins. So all it needs is like, no, I'm not giving you that penalty kick. No, I don't. I'm not giving you that. I'm not giving you
Yeah.
this try. I'm not awarding this. I'm not awarding that. And then slowly but surely you start losing the game. So
Well, because that's that little momentum shift, right? I suppose. I mean, you obviously did the chat and video on the refs earlier this week, and if you look, so I suppose let's just. I mean, I haven't really had any conversations with you guys this week, but if we go Ben O'Keefe as the main ref, I have no issue with him, right? Like we have a great record under him. I think we're 8 out of 9 that we've won under him. So solid record under him. The risk is the TMO, and so I suppose more the TMO than anything else because he's the guy that actually can have that 1 or 2 little says that could just shift the momentum a little bit, and that's something we hope won't happen. We want to say, look, they're professionals, but we all know you get that little bit of a subjective input. Uncle Benny, mute yourself. Subjective input, and having a New Zealander TMO there, it makes us a little bit nervous. We all remember. Oh, Uncle Benny's left. We all remember old Bryce Lawrence when he was a ref and stopped refing because of a game against South Africa. So we really don't want that. I mean, there's nothing you can do if that happens, and we're a little bit nervous. Let's put it that way.
yeah.
And
Well,
then
I mean,
on
it's not for you guys. I mean, also for New Zealand, the team selection. I mean, the ref selection that was chosen to ref New Zealand. It's also against New Zealand because it's Australian refs and one English ref.
and one
So
roll.
I'm like, that's a bit of a dodge thing, and yeah, it's
Yeah,
just as bad for both of us. But I think that both of us will emerge. We should emerge victoriously in that game.
yeah. I mean, look, you go the Argentina New Zealand side. You go, okay, the English guy. So Carl Dixon may prefer to play Argentina in the final. You've got 2 very hurt Australians, and obviously Nick Berry's been called out for a few flaky performances. And then you've got Angus Gardner, who's a solid ref, but on the day it might not be ideal. And then again, the TMO, you've got the Welsh, which is he's probably still not okay with Argentina. So I suppose for the Argentina-New Zealand side, for New Zealand, they might be okay because the TMO is Walsh, and he might have a little bit of anger towards Argentina kicking out well, so they might be okay there. He might just get the balance with the other Australian and English refs, but a bunch of refs that have no more skin in the game, apart from Dixon, which again you can just have those one or two little calls.
Yeah, I think, but it worries me. I'm not gonna lie, he does worry me because of the fact that he's got. Well, Australia. Let's be honest, Australia does not like New Zealand. They are arch rivals. So since they
Yeah.
didn't make it, it's basically a thing where as long as it's not New Zealand that's winning, that's all that matters. So,
but that's what the Walsh TMO might save you a little bit there because Argentina out Wales. It might just give you that. It might just give you that balance.
Well, let's hope so. But yeah. So ultimately, I think we both agree. New Zealand and South Africa should come out on top, but there is a few concerns, refs, and maybe
a little bit of fatigue, a little bit of bias in the refs.
Yeah. And I see that the Uncle Benny and Hersh are here now. What's happening, guys?
Uncle Benny, don't light a cigarette on the camera. Fuck's sakes.
So if I hear this right, good morning.
We've lost
Good morning, gents. Sorry about that. There wasn't supposed to be, I'm not like you guys, always on the camera. But anyways. So if I hear this right, you guys are going with South Africa and New Zealand into the finals, correct?
Yeah, we want to. Yeah, and you the underdog, better you.
Yeah. Okay.
But we don't. Okay, underdog since
because I'm going with Argentina like always. I've told you guys from the beginning, I am supporting the underdog. And
if you support England, I'm going to kick you off this call.
And the other underdog in this other situation, well, England is no underdog coming into this semi-finals. They haven't lost. Well, they played a couple of shit teams, so obviously the other underdog will be the Springboks. So I'll be supporting them. You guys are lucky on this occasion, even though my heart goes out for them. If they weren't the underdogs, I would definitely go against them just because I can, and there's nothing you guys can do. But yeah, on that, on the referee note,
the whole world except England.
But yeah, that's the whole world's problem.
The whole world except England think that England are.
They must sort that out then. But on the referees, obviously there's a lot we can say. I just hope that the Bokke will stick it to all 19 of them. The 15 players, the 18, the 2 side judges, and the one on top. And the other 3 that's helping as well. We just got to minimize the penalties, in crucial areas and score tries. Don't give the ref a chance to say or have a say in this game when it comes to our side of the game. That's basically it. Otherwise, we're going to come back and blame the referee like I did last week. And I just said, fuck that. Let's forget about the referee. If South Africa plays 150% rugby in the crucial areas where we need to and not make errors, we should win this game.
Yeah, look, I mean, you can't just slide in here 20 minutes late and come and have a say. Wait, I'll call to you now. What was I going to say now? You see, come and disrupt me here. But so, yeah, I mean, look, obviously on a discipline perspective, outside of the yellow for Evan in the last game, that was our only card so far in the World Cup. We've played the refs really well, right? Like we've worked well with them. We have a good record with O'Keefe. We've got a solid history there. So, I don't foresee that it will be a problem. It's just that concern that, we have had a ref take us out completely. You wanted to have your two.
What's happening? Okay, we talked about the refs. Can I say something about the refs quickly?
Sure.
Okay, guys. So I actually watched the clip about Nigel Owens, and he was explaining a lot of different things that even some referees don't know about. Like in the northern hemisphere, they ref a certain way. In the southern hemisphere, we all know they ref a certain way. Because maybe it's because of the style of play, or maybe just because of the coaching from a coach to a ref. So there's a lot of information that goes around. And so for instance, like we all know that if a player goes off his feet over the ball and then spooks it, it's off and taken. Nigel Owens talked about the fact of with the Quafa Smith kind of decision,
One
that
hand.
one hand was on and the other one was off. Like this is now the talk about mitigation comes in. Does the one arm plays a big part in like scooping the ball up? Yes or no? Like there's so many things that happens at the breakdown, line out, scrums that happens where referees have to choose. Is this something that we need to take on? And the one thing that Rassi, like Ruan has said, that has done really well is that they analyze referees. Same thing with the whole Jaco Piper thing, and then the other referee came back on again. You kind of look at the referee and you ask yourself, what does the referee do? Where's the areas that they look at? Where's the areas that they're pedantic about? Some referees stay away from the scrums. Some focus on the lineouts and the general play. So with the refereeing that has been going on, it has been really bad. We all know this, especially against tier 2 nations. However, Ben O'Keefe, he actually did a brilliant job for me personally. He managed the crowd, the noise of the crowd, and he also managed the game. There were certain times I felt like South Africa could have been penalized, but he allowed it to happen. I do think that the French, like with even Etzebeth, any other referee would have called that deliberate smackdown. That's going to be yellow card. I mean, any other, but Ben O'Keefe, you saw it as it is, it was sideways or backwards, they reacted differently. There's so many areas where I thought Ben O'Keefe could have blown us up, but he didn't.
You're covering now for the referees. You said you wanted to say something. Is it because you feel like the referee? Look here, in all these games, like I said earlier on, if we as South Africa can keep Ben O'Keefe out of our game, maybe just talking to us, you understand? But where the penalty factor comes in, any part of the game where it's crucial, just no, you don't understand what I mean.
I just understand.
Yeah, but
understand, like,
you can disagree all you want, but that's your opinion. I'm saying what I think or feel. You can disagree. I'm not saying don't disagree, but put your referee aside now. We're talking. You're not a referee now. You're Herschel.
Right now. So you think that Ben O'Keefe had a bad game France versus South Africa in the quarterfinals? You think that a bad
No. No, I never said that.
The other referee has been bad. I agree with you. The other referees,
What
there's been some
what I'm
referees
saying
that
is
I agree with that. But
what I'm saying is
that's probably the best
yes, and I am not denying that there was a couple that could have gone to France, that could have gone to us. That's okay. What I'm saying for this game is we just need to focus on our game and try not to make silly mistakes in pivotal areas for them to be able to either counter or give the 3 points. You understand? Not get into that where he needs to come and tell us, hey guys, I've told you this or I've told you that. You understand? Just the referee is there to control the game. Give him that. Not let him get involved in our decisions and discussions. And that's the only way we're going to go forward. If we are going to completely just say, okay, there's 15 men here, let the referee, if he calls whatever decision, let him call it. You understand? Whether we see it right or wrong, I had to make that decision last week, bro, when I literally felt towards the end that Ben O'Keefe wanted us to lose. I went back, looked at it, and I was like, on the day that was his decisions. Like you said,
Look,
it's his call. You understand?
I'm gonna add
He
this.
will have to give answer for that.
Yeah, I'm gonna add this in because again, I haven't been on the podcast earlier this week, and I didn't have any say in the refs. Those last 3 minutes, he was dragging them out there. He was definitely pulling those 3 minutes into as many minutes as he could. And to be fair, that was probably a bit of France stadium input, but how many times does a scrum get reset without time being called off, unless you obviously pull the front rows out to have a conversation? I mean, that, on their 5 meter line. Yeah, but he did it twice. He did it twice. But the first reset, he called time off, and the second reset, he called time off and spoke to them. Normally, that first reset wouldn't get a time off, and that was in the last like 3 minutes. So it was like he was like, "I'm gonna just cover my ass quick," and
I think he handled
give them an extra 30 seconds
pretty
because
well. And I think that's why they gave it to him again.
No, he did. It was.
But also,
I was watching it and I was like, he's definitely pulling out an extra 45 seconds.
if you guys have noticed, Ben O'Keefe also was a referee against us against 2021. Us against the British and Irish Lions, the second game. If you guys go and have a look at how he handled that game, I mean, he spoke to the players multiple times, warned them multiple times, you know, but in a way of telling them, I want to be able to wrap this game with both of you 15-15 on the field. You already have one yellow.
Yeah.
If you want to continue that way. So we've come a long way with Ben. And I've seen the way Bonambi speaks to him, Kolisi, and the way he replies. It's not like the other refs that, you know, that just goes, I've told you, you know, or whatever. He listens and he gives the feedback to the players of what, you know, why the penalty went this way or that way, which is good. But like you say, yeah, that last couple of minutes, but yeah, I want to forget about that. This week, I just want us to focus on our game. Whatever Rassie has got planned, and we know he's got something planned, we should be talking about that. I think we should be talking about what does Rassie have up his sleeve this week, because we know there's something.
Yeah.
Of England.
Yeah, both weeks. We spoke about that. He panicked. He was like, "What? Did he get it right? Did he? Well, no."
Oh, okay.
So obviously Matt and I have had a bit of a conversation around the squad. So I'm going to wrap it up with giving you guys a chance to just give your predictions for the two games, winner and margin. We're not going to talk about actual score lines. We're going to wrap it up there. So Hersh, Argentina, New Zealand. Who's taking that one for you?
New Zealand, no doubt. I think it's
Okay. 38-17. So you're going with a 21-point margin. All right, and then South Africa, England.
13.
Okay, so you're going with 14-point margin. I assume South Africa, right?
Yeah, South Africa, yeah.
So not 32-12, like half the world is like, you remember, like people are still getting flashbacks from the World Cup. They're like, it's 32-12. I'm like, it will never happen again.
Imagine if it's same.
It would be great. I wouldn't put it past Rassie if he was like, you remember that scoreline in the final? We want that same one, guys. Then give them the 4 penalties and then stop. Yeah. All right, Benny, over to you. Argentina, New Zealand.
Benny's gone.
He lost him. All right. Well, I suppose actually he did give his predictions earlier. I was just going to ask the margins. All right, guys. We've got semi-finals this weekend. I will be enjoying the South Africa game heavily tomorrow. Got a big braai with a bunch of people, so if I'm dead on Sunday, you know why. Yeah. Cool.